What's up guys, Rogue9 here. The Battlefront 2 beta was a couple of weeks ago and, true to the mantra better late than never, I'm finally getting around to putting together my thoughts on the game so far, so let's get right to it. As you may well be able to guess from my gaming handle, I am a long-standing fan of the Star Wars franchise. The films, novels, countless video games, I've consumed them all, and of course I'm always interested in new Star Wars themed games. I gave the previous Battlefront game a good go during its beta, and while the graphics and the game's settings were great, the multiplayer experience delivered by the game was not only a little thin but also too arcadey for my taste, and that's why I never got into the game enough to start covering it on my channel. After playing the beta for Battlefront 2, I can say that the new title has improved the multiplayer experience on quite a few levels, in addition to providing a single-player campaign. So at first glance, everything looks great for Battlefront 2, but there are also some glaring issues. Let me start off with what I am expecting from the single-player campaign based off of the trailer video that was available in the beta. I like the idea of fighting on the Imperial side. One of my favorite Star Wars games from back in the day was TIE Fighter, and being able to return to fight for the dark side is a nice idea. As long as there's not some coming to the light moment where the main character turns against the Empire, please let there not be anything like that. And apart from that, the fact that the main character is a female Special Forces stormtrooper of undefined ethnic origin doesn't really fit in with the classic image of the Galactic Empire, but is not surprising, given the current trend in video games of ticking all the diversity boxes. So yeah, the bottom line here is that I really hope that the Battlefront 2 single player has a great story that can appeal to newer Star Wars fans as well as those of us who are more attached to the old storyline. I also hope that it is substantial enough to be more than just a token add-on to a game that will certainly be focused mostly around the multiplayer mode. I really want it to be great, but only the final release will allow us to know for sure. Speaking of multiplayer, the intro to the beta voiced by John Boyega boasts about how much bigger Battlefront 2 will be at launch compared to Battlefront 1, and that's great. It's nice to see a game that is significantly more fleshed out, and for me in particular, the addition of these space battles is an awesome move. The small-scale objective-based PvP battles were decent fun, and the large-scale ground assault mode was even better. But my favourite of all were the Starfighter space battles. I played that mission far more often than is healthy, but it was just that much fun. Sure, it was still a very arcadey experience, and not being able to set up my flight stick was a disappointment, but I'm sure that functionality will be added in the final release. Maybe not on launch, but I assume that the joystick setup will be added at some point, just like for Battlefield 1. The ground battles were certainly action-packed and decent fun for a few rounds, but considering that Battlefront is developed by DICE, it's a shame that the gameplay is far closer to the Call of Duty multiplayer than the Battlefield franchise. As I explained in my video discussing the COD open beta, the fast-paced, run-and-gun, every-man-for-himself style multiplayer isn't quite my cup of tea. The thing that makes me come back again and again to games like Rainbow Six and Battlefield 1 is the ability to cooperate with friends and teammates, and that's something that I miss in Battlefront. Sure, you can squad up with Origin friends and you will be placed on the same server and the same team as them, but that's where it ends. The fact that you spawn randomly with other players that might not be in your squad makes sticking and working together basically impossible. You're just kind of playing on your own and might occasionally bump into one of your friends. And this goes both for the infantry and the starfighter gameplay. In addition to this, something that concerned me while playing the COD beta was that the weapon upgrades and customizations felt a little too powerful, and if anything, Battlefield 1 has created a system that is even worse. The star cards you could equip in both infantry and starfighter games during the beta could be incredibly powerful. For instance, increasing bomber health by 40% or making Boba Fett invincible while he's using his rockets. Even during the short time that the beta was available, I ended up in a good number of games where a guy with a couple of golden star cards was basically untouchable and the balance of the match was completely destroyed. What's even worse is that the best way to get star cards and weapon upgrades was from the loot crates that in the final release will be purchasable with real-world money. Look, if people spend enough time with the game and want to put some money into microtransactions to buy loot boxes for weapon skins or character uniforms, that's perfectly fine by me, and if you can earn those things in game challenges, alpha or battle packs, then all the better. Being able to gamble for significant and almost game-breaking upgrades is deeply concerning, and I believe accusations of pay-to-win that have been made against Battlefront are fully justified. EA has responded to these concerns in a recent dev blog post that reads as follows. There are many things that you can earn in the game, including weapons, attachments, credits, star cards, emotes, outfits, and victory poses. As a balance goal, we're working towards having the most powerful items in the game only earnable via in-game achievements. Crates will include a mix of star cards, outfits, emotes, or victory poses. Players earn crates by completing challenges and other gameplay milestones, or by purchasing them with in-game credits or crystals, our premium currency. If you get a duplicate star card in a crate, you will get crafting parts which you can then use to help upgrade the star card of your choice. And lastly, you have to earn the right to be able to upgrade star cards and unlock most weapons. You can only upgrade or unlock them if you have reached a high enough rank, which is determined by playing the game. Okay, so maybe the game will not be fully and completely pay to win. Tying unlocks and the most powerful upgrades to in-game related actions and achievements is certainly better than someone being able to drop $50 or $100 on loot crates on day one and then being basically untouchable for a good while. Nevertheless, this statement doesn't address how overpowered some of the upgrades were during the beta, and I think that irrespective of how many of these upgrades you can gamble for versus how many of them you have to earn in-game, giving players the ability to upgrade their characters and ships to the point of being virtually undefeatable by anyone who doesn't have those upgrades still has the potential to ruin the game for new or casual players. Of course, these upgrades may be tweaked before the final release, but the whole issue is a definite red flag for me. So the bottom line is that despite being a huge Star Wars fan, this game might be more about the single-player mode for me, and that only if it turns out to be good. A potentially unbalanced multiplayer in which cooperating with my friends is going to be really tough is just not something that can compete with the established multiplayer games I am still playing right now. But as always, those are just my thoughts on the matter. Did you play the Battlefront 2 beta? How did you find it? And are you now looking forward to the final release more or less? Let me know in the comments section below, and with that, I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.